my dear friends, in today's lecture, I'm going to give you some super duper tips of IELTS writing task 1 and particularly about maps description. So let's get started. It's going to be a bit longish lecture, but it's going to be extremely useful. So you better just hold paper and pencil and write down all these tips one by one. In the IELTS writing test, you might be asked to describe a map in task 1. This type of question is becoming increasingly popular. In my opinion, this is the easiest one to score high marks in, if only you are prepared. Many students, books, and teachers overlook this type of question, and therefore it is a bit of a shock when one comes across it in the test center. So, if you are prepared, you will probably do better than most of the other students. There are 3 main types of map questions. I will just give you each of them one by one. Number 1, describe one map in the present day. Number 2, describe 2 maps, one in the present and one in the future. Number 3, describe 2 maps, one in the past and one in the present. Now, as far as the first type is concerned, the first kind is very rare as it only requires you to use the present simple and it is impossible for any comparisons to be made. Second kind does come up occasionally and would require you to use present and future tenses. So this kind of question is normally about the future development of a town or city. Third kind is extremely important here, and this is the most common and will be the main focus of my lecture today. So my dear friends, you'll normally be shown 2 maps and asked to select and report the main features and make comparisons where relevant. You'll obviously be using both present and past tenses to describe the maps and how the town has developed. Also, as this is the man-made process, we will use the passive tenses here. Now, something about the structure. For describing the 2 maps, I advise my students to follow a 4-paragraph structure. In paragraph 1, there is a paraphrase sentence, and you need to paraphrase question using synonyms. In paragraph 2, as you know, it's an overview. So make 2 general statements about the map. You should describe the map generally and write about the most noticeable differences between the 2 maps. And ask yourself further questions. You could ask yourself the following questions to identify general changes. For example, question number 1, is the map more or less residential? Question number 2, is there more or less countryside? Number 3, are there more or less trees? Number 4, were the changes dramatic or negligible? Number 5, were there any major improvements in infrastructure? Number 6, how have the buildings and leisure facilities changed? So now it comes paragraph number 3 and main body paragraph 1 now. 3 and 4 sentences about specific changes that have occurred should be written in paragraph number 3, and that is going to constitute your main body paragraph number 1. Similarly, paragraph number 2 will be the replica of paragraph number, body paragraph 1 will be the replica of body paragraph number 4. The second body paragraph. And that is the main body paragraph number 2. Further, 3 and 4 sentences about specific changes that have occurred should be mentioned here in main body paragraph number 2. So you can group information together in para 3 and 4 by time and location depending on the information asked. Now, the question arises how to describe specific changes. The ability to describe changes is very crucial to answering this question. For example, the various buildings and features are normally labeled for you. What you need to work on is how to write about their change from the past up until the present day. Now, I'm going to give you some multiple vocabulary items in forms of verbs to describe the changes in buildings. For example, some particular word should be used, or rather can be used, for describing the changes in the buildings. For example, demolished, knocked down, flattened, replaced, renovated, built, constructed, reconstructed, developed, extended, expanded, relocated, converted, and modernized. I'll introduce you with some examples now. I'll use rather these building words in certain examples. For example, the government demolished the industrial estate and developed a sports ground. Number two, they removed the shops and replaced them with a skyscraper. Skyscraper or a high-rise building. Number three, a port was constructed at the edge of the river. Number four, the factory in the city center was demolished and relocated to the north of the city. Next is the old warehouses were replaced with new hotels. The last one, regarding the building vocabulary, the factory was converted into apartments. Now, normally you would see some trees and forest. What is the vocabulary which can be used for describing trees and forests? Number one, cleared, cut down, chopped down, removed, planted. Now, the example sentences are like this. The forest was cut down and replaced with a shopping center. The trees were cleared to make way for houses. Now, sometimes you find roads, bridges, railway lines. Now, what sort of vocabulary should be used here? Constructed, built, extended, expanded, removed. Now, let's use them in one or two sentences. The main road was extended and a new bridge built over the river. About leisure facilities, vocabulary would be like opened, set up, established, developed. Now, the example sentences: the skate park was set up next to the swimming pool. Next to the, in front of, beside, in the middle of, in the center of. These are important phrases which are normally used. A park was developed beside the forest. This was a second example of describing the leisure facilities. Now, how to describe general changes? While writing an overview, we talk generally about the main changes that have occurred between the two maps. Now, examples of general statements we can use to describe changes in the towns and cities. For example, over a period, the area witnessed dramatic changes. Sentence number two, from 1995 to 2005, the city center saw spectacular developments. 3. The village changed considerably over the time period. 4. During the 10 years period, the industrial area was totally transformed. Number 5. Over the past 20 years, the residential area was totally reconstructed. Number 6. Between 1995 and 2005, the old houses were rebuilt. Number 7, the central business district was completely modernized during the time period. Now, pick 2 or 3 of the most noticeable changes or differences in the map and write a general statement for each. This will be your overview paragraph. It's an important part of your report writing. The most specific changes should be included in your main body paragraphs. Now, how to describe a location, for example, you'll also be expected to describe where things are on map and describe where changes have occurred. You can use to the left, to the right, in the center, in the middle, but a better way is to use east, west, north, south. I normally advise my students to draw the symbols on the question paper if they are not already there. On one direction, they should write east, opposite left, west, north, and south accordingly. Now, the examples are the golf course was constructed to the north of the airport, and the houses in the southwest of the town were demolished. Now, the preposition of place can also be used here. You'll also be expected to use prepositions of place, for example, at, in, on, by, beside, to, off, from, to describe where things are. Now, 3 example sentences. Number 1, dramatic changes took place in the city center. In. There is a golf course surrounded by the trees in the south. By the trees in the south. And the last but not the least, a new school was built next to the swimming pool. Next to. My dear friends, I have given you the detailed information about writing these maps, how they should be written for high band scores, and all the very important tips are provided in this lecture. If you just write down all this information, you will be absolutely ready for dealing with any kind of map description. God bless you all. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in another uploaded video. Until then, stay blessed.